Good evening, everybody. Let me just get back to where I was. Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Team Training Tuesday. This is a session where we tackle various health issues, and I like to approach them from different angles. And today I would like to welcome you to what I like to call Applied Neolife. My name is Ss Anambasi. I'm trained as a medical doctor, very, very passionate about health and wellness, and specifically educating and learning how we can all be healthier and happier, and also to connect the dots. You know, a lot of things are taken for granted, and yet if we trace back, we can all see what we can change. There's so many modifiable factors. So today I thought we would talk about the heart and the cardiovascular system. And again, these presentations are geared for guests who are perhaps looking to see how they can become part of Neolife. We are a family on a mission to make the world healthier and happier. So today the question is, how healthy is your heart? And I want us to take some time to consider matters of the heart. It could be the physical heart, but also the heart is used to mean something central, something very, very important, and something that keeps one alive. So I just want to say that love yourself enough to care. I know today is the 14th of February and everybody around the world remembers how to love somebody and to express it mainly by chocolates and sweets and things like that. So today I wanted to express it by some information, and later on we can have a lively discussion. So first of all, the function of the heart and the blood vessels, the functions: transport of oxygen and to remove carbon dioxide, to transport nutrients and to remove wastes. It helps and is very important in the fight against diseases. It transports hormones. You know, hormones are those biochemical compounds in our bodies that keep us functioning and alive, and they are made in glands, and then they need to be transported all over the body. And if that doesn't happen, unfortunately, there is major trouble. So the cardiovascular system is important for that, and also to regulate body temperature. So when we consider the cardiovascular system and the heart, it is so pivotal to our staying alive that no wonder there are disorders that lead to the world's biggest health problems. Disorders of the heart and blood vessels are the leading health problems worldwide. Also, millions and millions of people are afflicted. Many do not even know that they have that challenge. And that is because many cardiovascular problems have no symptoms, are totally asymptomatic until it is rather late. So that is something to take note of. So when we talk cardiovascular disease, I just want to summarize it again. Coronary artery disease, that's the arteries that carry oxygen and nutrients to the heart muscle itself. Those can become blocked or they can become narrow. It happens very, very often. This causes damage to portions of the heart muscle, and that is what we describe as heart attack. And then they can also go into spasm, because if you can remember that blood vessels have a muscular component to them, especially the arteries. And if they develop spasms, that can also result in a heart attack. And then, of course, the stroke is when they become blocked, wherever they mainly in the brain, let's put it in the brain. This is a very heartbreaking manifestation of cardiovascular disease. And we are seeing it often. Heart failure, on the other hand, is when there's inadequate blood flow from the heart. And the heart, as we know, is the pump. It's the pumping mechanism of the heart that is supposed to supply blood to meet the body's needs, as I've outlined. But if it fails, there will be symptoms such as fatigue, shortness of breath, swelling, maybe even forgetfulness and dementias begin to develop, and generally a lot of disorders, kidney failure, okay? And kidney failure can be as a result of heart disease, or it can lead to heart disease. So there are also other subtle signs and symptoms that we can touch on later. So if you ever hear somebody saying that they are so tired, think cardiovascular disease. Now, most people discover that there is a problem when they are told that their blood pressure is high. And it's really sad that people have to wait for something to trigger them to think heart and blood vessel health, you know? And that is usually because it is the first measurable clue of cardiovascular disease. It can be measured and quantified, in other words, and it will trigger. But there's many, many, many more people with challenges of the cardiovascular system whose blood pressure is not measured or it has not begun to rise, okay? So we just have to be aware of that. Hypertension results from a decrease in elasticity of blood vessels, and usually as a result of also decreased internal diameter of those blood vessels due to what we call atherosclerosis. That is the deposition of plaque. That is very common. That is a very common challenge, and we shall discuss how we can give solutions to that. Okay, so I just wanted to show you in coronary artery disease, the normal artery is nice, patent, allows blood flow, but narrowing happens when there's deposition of fatty and mineral-laden deposits. That's what we call plaque. Right, associated with hypertension. First on the list is stress, then nutritional deficiencies. Then perhaps there can be challenges with sodium metabolism, the way the body uses sodium. Maybe it's getting too much of it, and there's an imbalance there. And then enzyme imbalances, perhaps as a result of initially nutritional deficiencies, inability to create those enzymes, or other challenges that might happen. Recently, we discussed anti-nutrients, and we went further and discussed nutrient synergies. So there's a lot that can impact on the causation of hypertension. Now, hormonal imbalances is another one, but I just want you to get this picture that hypertension is not the disease that it has been made out to be. It is actually a symptom of something underlying that is not quite right. So once we get that in our minds, we'll be in a better position to advise ourselves and to advise each other. So this is a quick summary of the types of heart disease. You've heard all these words, maybe, maybe not, but aneurysm, as an example, is ballooning of the blood vessel For example, one of the major blood vessels, it balloons. But now I want you to get into the habit of asking, why is there ballooning? Okay, and then pericarditis is inflammation of the surrounding of the heart. Why is there pericarditis? Is there perhaps a simmering underlying infection in the body? That is often the case indeed. And then the valves might also fail. So I want to develop in us an inquisitive mind. We need to start asking questions. I love to ask questions. So here are a few questions that we can ask. What is real prevention? Okay, what is real prevention? And can food be the answer to reversing most common forms of degeneration? That's another question. And then what else does the body need for optimal function? Okay, so we've always heard about the importance of exercise. We've heard the importance of rest and relaxation. We've heard the importance of getting fresh air, good quality water. All those are very, very important. And then I like to ask the question, when should we begin to address all these things? Good question indeed. So my distress as a medical doctor, I've been a medical doctor, it's going to be 38 years this year. I started speaking a long time ago that unless we educate people and intentionally change lifestyle, we can't justify using emergency measures or the treatment of symptoms. So let us develop that as an argument in this family. But I'll carry on and then we'll discuss. So prevention is always better. Cardiovascular disease is not an inevitable result of aging. However, what is if it is accompanied by uncontrolled, ongoing, unrelenting inflammation. And that's why we've called it inflammaging. Okay, they've put the two words together, inflammation and aging to create inflammaging. So let's look at controllable factors, which are also known as lifestyle. Smoking, unrelenting stress. Stress is something that we can't escape. And in fact, it is on some levels good for us because it motivates us. It's a very motivating emotion and sentiment. But if it is unrelenting and chronic, then it can be quite damaging. And then look at that one, sedentary lifestyle. Instead of doing some exercise, we just sit around all day and then lie down all night and then sit some more the following day. Then the dietary habits. Have you scrutinized what you are eating? And is it healthy in the truest sense of the word? As in, it doesn't contain too many chemicals or no chemicals at all for that matter. It doesn't have antibiotics. Well, in the real life that we are living in, it is hard to find such foods. And then elevated unhealthy cholesterol. Yes, there has been quite a lot of too much of the wrong types of fats and not enough of the good fats in our modern lifestyle. So that's all part of lifestyle. And then obesity. We have literally normalized obesity, and we are going a step further and normalizing it in our children. So that is setting them up early for heart, cardiovascular diseases, heart and blood vessel diseases. And then diabetes is on the rise. I suspect it is because of the lifestyle. And so all these are situations that we have to consider when we are talking cardiovascular diseases. So we have a lot of work to do. I've pointed that out. I want to remind our guests, if there are guests on the call, we are always excited to have guests listening in. Our vision is to end the trend of poor health and financial stress. You might recall that stress was right on top, and stress as a result of finances can be very damaging to the cardiovascular system. Now, cardiovascular diseases, I've pointed it out, I just want to reiterate it, are the leading cause of disability and death worldwide. And the cost of treating cardiovascular diseases is astronomical. Too much is being spent and not enough on prevention. Too much on treating is being spent and not enough on prevention. So I feel we urgently need a shift in paradigm. Nutritional approaches must become part of the overall lifestyle change. Now, I recall in medical school, we were hardly taught what the right thing is as regards nutrition. I hope things have changed. I went to medical school quite a while ago. Perhaps things have changed. So diet is very important. And I just want us to do a bit of dot connecting. Let's connect the dots. And Carl Jung, a famous psychotherapist long ago, said, until you make the unconscious conscious, until you bring to your awareness what seems to be the way of life, the thing that is done, until you bring it to the fore, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And unfortunately, as regards heart disease, a lot of people have just shrugged it off and said, well, it runs in the family. And then they don't look further. So let's connect the dots. And I want to start by saying, as an example, okay, all lifestyle habits stimulate the adrenal glands, okay? And then overstimulated glands become exhausted. Now, part of the exhaustion of overstimulated glands is the fact that these glands, which are famous for concentrating vitamin C, might be deficient in that vitamin, and therefore the adrenal glands become weak. Also, the deficiency of other vitamins, such as the vitamin B complex, trace minerals, amino acids, if they're not being supplied, can you see all the dots that I'm connecting? Adrenal gland exhaustion, stress. Okay, so let's take it a step further and talk about some more points to think about. Insufficient adrenal hormone production can happen in all age groups and can be life-threatening. And most importantly, symptoms develop slowly. So by the time we as society present ourselves to the medical system or a doctor, for example, or a clinic or a nurse for treatment, that's not when the problem started. It probably has been going on for a long time. And then let's think of some stressors: illness, injury, emotional or psychological stress. All those, depending on how they are handled, in other words, depending on the resilience of the person in question, will reveal adrenal insufficiency. And then the person becomes terribly sick, and we call it fate. So I hope we shall go some way into bringing the unconscious into our consciousness and become more aware. Now, as regards the infections, nutrition is a critical determinant of immune response, and malnutrition is the biggest and the most common cause of illness and immunodeficiency. So how are we going to respond to that? And that's why we are telling you, if you're a guest, that there are solutions. But let me just point out one thing, that we are all made out of trillions and trillions of cells, structures that look like that, and cells aggregate to form organs, and then those do their various functions. Inside those cells are hundreds to thousands of little mitochondria that look like this. And those are where the actual work of that cell happens. So we need to get nutrients into the mitochondria, but before they can do that, they have to get into the cell. Now, can you see that anything that stops this cell membrane from accepting nutrients will immediately stop any further activity of that cell? Well, that is exactly why people are tired, because they're not doing the most basic thing, which is feeding the cells at a cellular level in order to create the energy required by the mitochondria. So Neolife knew this, and Neolife has said for a long, long time, this is a company that has been around for 65 years this year. It started in 1958. And they said that disease prevention, in order to prevent all manner of disease, including cardiovascular disease, there are some fundamental things that need to be done. Number one, weight management, physical activity, and a diet rich in whole food nutrients that are found in whole grains, fruits and vegetables, and fish. Isn't that profound? That way, one develops resilience of the system. So for the guests, I like to slot this one in just to remind us that, yes, that's how we're supposed to be living, making sure that we do physical activity, getting good nutrition, minimal, if at all, of the wrong fats and sugars, okay? However, modern lifestyle has turned everything upside down, and now we end up, instead of being energetic, falling sick after we've been tired for a long time. And I've shown you that the reason people get tired is failure to traverse nutrients into the cell to create energy. And the heart, which has lots and lots and lots of mitochondria, begins to fail. And that is the foundation of disease. So a lot of us are losing out on good quality life and living too long in the tired and sick zone. So we have good news in that when food processing happened, Neolife had the foresight 65 years ago to say, let us replace what has been robbed from us. And those are what we call whole grain oils. And we have this product, which when added to your diet, it's not a medication, it is a food. So everything that I'm talking about here is food and not drugs, okay? So what happens is that you feed your cells, enhance your energy, your heart will work better. When the heart is working better, it improves nutrient utilization and obviously distribution of those nutrients. The whole body will feel better. So I'm sure some guests on the call would be asking, are all nutrition supplements equal? What is so special about your supplements? Does it really matter what I use? So let us just examine the concept of bioavailability. That simply means it's a term that is used in physiology to describe the proportions of a food or a drug which enters the circulation when introduced into the body and is thus made able to have an active effect. And you will remember that that active effect has to be inside the cell, okay? The other way of looking at bioavailability is the degree to which a nutrient is available to the body for use. It's a measure of the rate that a supplement is absorbed within the body after it has been administered. So what is so special about ours? We were blessed to have a scientific advisory board who research and develop everything that we have and ensure the highest bioavailability. I'll take an example. The founder also pioneered with Neolife the technology of chelation in order to get minerals to be better absorbed. Minerals, by their very nature, are very poorly absorbed due to the way the gut is and the way the minerals are, the positivity and negativity of minerals and the gut. So they're poorly absorbed. So he had the idea of chelation, which means to bind the minerals in amino acids so that they are transported across the membrane of the gut. Really ingenious. So our minerals are very highly absorbed, and things like calcium and magnesium are very important for the health of the cardiovascular system. And so we need to have the knowledge that when you use these ones, you will get what you are expecting. Now we have the concept of core nutrition, which is this: amino acids and pro-vitality. Pro-vitality gives us the whole grains, gives us protector nutrients, gives us minerals and vitamins which have to do the work that they are commissioned to do, and give us omega salmon oil. This is what helps to prevent plaque, because it comes in and takes the place of all the wrong oils. So just in summary, before I go to targeted nutrition for the heart and blood vessels, for a healthy heart, you need physical activity. You need to protect the cells. You need cardioprotective amino acids, and this will lower the weight, reduce body fat, gives you good quality muscle, and ensures that even the heart muscle and the blood vessel muscles are healthy. You know, whenever we talk muscles, we always say, oh, the muscles of the skeletal system. No, you have to remember that the cardiovascular system has muscles too. And then, of course, the right fat to reduce inflammation. Inflammation leads to damage to the cardiovascular system. And just to prove it, women get quite hectic heart disease. And that is because, for example, here in South Africa, where I live, many people do not eat enough fish. Across all populations, the fish consumption is low. It is recommended that we need at least 2 servings of omega-3 rich fish every single week. But to get that is very difficult, because if you were to eat plain fish, you have to stress about the contaminants such as lead, mercury, and all the other toxins that will lead to a lot of inflammation. Hence, a case for supplementation that we are now going to discuss. So, as we think about the nutrients for a healthy heart, and as you ponder how healthy is your heart, the first one is salmon oil plus. It is the one on the market, so the one that you will find with all 8 molecules of the family of omega-3 fatty acids, as you see them there. Many other companies might give you 2 of them, EPA, which is number 5, and DHA, which is number 8. Missing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. So in effect, that product won't help to protect your heart if you don't have all of them. Then other targeted solutions. By the way, you get omega-3, as I've pointed out, in the core nutrition. So you start with core nutrition, and then you add the targeted solutions. And I want to start with lycotropic adjunct. It keeps the blood flowing in the sense that it will mop up those deposits, the deposits of plaque, together with omega-3, which will replace the wrong fats with the right fat. This one comes and cleans up and ensures that the blood flows through a widened blood vessel. Then you need blood to remain fluent and to avoid formation of clots, because as you can imagine, a clot forming is what leads to a heart attack and also leads to strokes. So we have garlic, very, very important, and we have vitamin E. Vitamin E will go further and improve the oxygen supply to the blood vessels. So the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood improves dramatically, as it does with omega-3 as well. Then the next one that I wanted to point out is that it's important to maintain strong blood vessels. And vitamin C is used in the formation of collagen together with everything else that is on board. And so a good supply of vitamin C is important. But remember that stress story about the adrenals. I would always put vitamin C in the heart health program. So in answer to the question, when should we begin? I know we parents have battled very often with getting our children to eat more fruits and vegetables. That is the ideal. But in the event that it is not always possible to get the right amounts into our little ones, then supplementation is what we would recommend. And we have amazing supplements for our little ones so that we set them up for a healthy lifestyle in the future by building a good foundation now. Stress can manifest in all sorts of ways. And all these are, in one way or another, as we connect the dots, linked to cardiovascular challenges. Things like extreme fatigue, low blood pressure. Yes, you know, we might stress so much about high blood pressure that we forget that low blood pressure is also an abnormality. Because if the blood pressure is too low, blood will not reach those areas that it's supposed to go to, such as the brain, such as the kidneys, and the lower limbs. And then you might get situations of salt craving, muscle and joint pains. You might get situations of, okay, I'm trying to make sure that everybody remains muted. Depression, okay, as a result of whatever reason. either low transmitters, neurotransmitters, social circumstances, excessive stress and leading to anxiety. You might get low blood sugar. You might, on the other hand, get very high blood sugar. And then one of the manifestations, and for the men, loss of libido for everybody, but also erectile dysfunction. All these are evidence of cardiovascular disorders. So I would recommend, I started speaking about the need to check our blood levels of various things like cholesterol, and I mentioned homocysteine. That is a clear sign that things are not well with the cardiovascular system, as it is an indicator of a lot of other disorders, but we will keep touching on it. And that's the reason I bring in the need to detox regularly. As you know, we are a family that is out to share good information, and a detox is something that all of you should aspire to doing. Then avoid bringing in toxins unnecessarily, because we get a lot of toxins into us by something that we do, like using products that are full of toxins. So our company has, and our family has, non-toxic or low burden products that you can use, also for the laundry, an excellent product indeed. And so all I'm asking now, as I wind up, is that look, listen, and share when you get permission to. And why do I put it that way? You know, if somebody knows you and likes you and trusts you, they will listen to you. So for all the distributors who have invited guests, and for you guests, there is a difference between interest and commitment. When you are interested in something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you are committed to something, you accept no excuses. You only accept results. This is a saying by a gentleman called Ken Blanchard. He wrote the book, The 1 Minute Manager. So why am I putting it as the last slide? Because your heart is very, very important. And my opening question was, how healthy is your heart? So my close is, how committed are you to your overall health? I hope you are. And so I'm going to stop sharing and we can have a lively discussion, which I will stop recording.